Hi everyone, I'm back with my fourth VGC commentary video, this time centering around Ho-Oh. It's one of my favorite restricted designs, and this one in particular was a huge pain to get for me back in Colosseum, so I really wanted to make a team around it, and I wanted to make one that worked. Back towards the beginning of the format, James Bake made a really cool Ho-Oh team centered around light clay, lapras, and sand, so I thought I'd do something similar with the current meta using screens, Grimmsnarl, and Sun. Let's take a look at what we came up with. Starting with the Rainbow Bird itself, we're running Assault Vest, which gives us the luxury of running 4 moves. Its signature move, Sacred Fire, is completely nuts. 100 base power, 50% chance to burn, and I have our attack investment guaranteeing us an Oko on the Frailization that runs 4 HP. Our other stab, Brave Bird, gives us Airstream boosts, and the speed investment we have lets us outspeed Thunderous Incarnate after 1 boost, which is really common in the current meta as well. After that, we have EQ and Ironhead, and these are just really solid coverage moves that they also allow us to bulk up Ho-Oh's already incredible defenses, and that just stacks up on top of the AV. So that item does force us to give up access to Recover, which is one of its best moves, but Ho-Oh still has Regenerator to make up for that on switches. And that's why I opted not for a weakness policy build, because once you have those boosts, you really don't want to be switching out, and that just invalidates its whole ability. Next to the team, we have Grimmsnarl. This is just a basic specially defensive spread, actually the same spread as we used in the last video. Dual screens, Spirit Break is stabbed to lower special attack, but this time we're using Scary Face instead of Fake Tears. This grants us speed control. I could have gone with Thunder Wave to grant us speed control as well, but our team already spreads Burns and Sleep, as you're going to see in a second, and that takes up the slot for status. On top of that, Landorus Therian is one of our biggest weaknesses when we're running Sun, and Ho-Oh is 4 times weak to Rock. And its ground typing grants it immunity to Thunder Wave, so Scary Face bypasses that. So after that, Sun team. So we've got the weakness policy Venusaur. Grimmsnarl's screens combined with Dynamax let it tank super effective hits, and then it just picks up KOs really quickly, switch in Torkoal if we need speed control, or just use Scary Face like we mentioned if we don't want to give them Sun. We're running 212 speed with a timid nature, and that beats max speed Regieleki and Sun. After that, it's just a fairly bulky spread with a bit of attack investment. Our team is fairly physical, so we opt for Weather Ball over Sludge Bomb. Maxus isn't really doing much for us in that case. And then we have that tech in our back pocket if we want to combat enemy Venusaurs. Sometimes when rain comes out, you want to have a water-type Weather Ball. It's just really nice to have situationally. Even a max strike to lower speed can be useful. So of course it's a Sun team, and we've already showed our restricted is in Groudon, so you should be able to know that Torkoal's on here too. Just a max physical defense support set with Burning Jealousy, Yawn, Body Press, and Protect. With screens up, he can live pretty much any physical hit and then burn or sleep right back. It's also a really solid Trick Room deterrent against Calyrex Ice teams, because they have to respect the possibility of us running offensive Eruption variants, and even then, if they don't, we can get the Burning Jealousy off if they don't launch off their Trick Room. Okay, for our 5th Mon, we've got Lumberry Swords Dance Landorus Therian. And this should be familiar because it was ripped directly from my lapdog team that I used in my first 2 videos. Because I opted not to run safety goggles on Ho-Oh, I needed a counter to other Sun teams. And this is our primary Sun counter because we're running a slow and bulky spread that lets us live Charizard Wildfire in the Sun and Oko it right back with Rockfall. It won me a bunch of games in the qualifiers, so I'm hoping he can help us with the mirror. And then finally, we round out the team with Umbreon. Same defensive spread as I used on my lapdog team, but this time I decided to go with the more standard Moonlight over Baby Doll Eyes, because you just really can't argue with double healing in the Sun. It brings you all the way back up to full, and that frees us up to use leftovers instead of Citrus Berry, the Torkoal wants, because we've got Burst Healing covered with Moonlight, so we just want that residual. Otherwise, Umbreon's just an amazing Pokemon in this format. Foul Play and Snarl give us solid matchups into both the Calyrex forms, all the Sun and Moon restricteds, and Metagross. And then on top of that, Yawn Pressure is just fantastic because you can just keep yawning into the same slot and force them to switch out or go to sleep. That pretty much rounds it out though, so let's start some games and see how this team does. Okay, we found our first opponent, Mira Romero, ranked 3,500. Okay, so not crazy high. We're looking at a Kyogre Rain team here, so that tells me that we want Venusaur, but they do have their own answer to Venusaur with their Zapdos. So let's take a moment to decide what we want to do here. I think this might be a prime spot to take advantage of our weakness policy. So I kind of like the idea of us leading with Grimmsnarl and Venusaur. Set up screens, hopefully take an Airstream and strike right back. We I think we want Torkoal to counter their weather, even though a water spout in the rain, even in the sun, will hurt a lot. So we want to get that damage on Kyogre ASAP. And then after that, let's just bring Ho-Oh. It's our restricted. This is kind of one of those cases where our restricted is more defensive, which is why it's not very high tier. And therefore, there are matchups where you may not want it. I'm going to try to bring it wherever I can, personally. It has base 130 attack. That's pretty good, but you know, it's hard to compare that to Zacian or Kyogre or something like that, you know. Anyway, let's jump into this. A lot is going to depend on the lead here. Rillaboom and Kyogre. Okay, so right off the bat, I fear Fake Out from Rillaboom. This is the main downside of bringing Grimmsnarl instead of Lapras. Yes, you get to get those screens without using your Gmax, but at the same time, you're then vulnerable to flinching. With that said, in order to punish us for taking that flinch, they'd have to attack with Kyogre. And for that reason, I feel reasonably safe still going for the screens and setting up. They have, yeah, Zapdos and Whimsicott would both take, and Incineroar for that matter, would all take a Vine Lash pretty well. To be quite honest, it's kind of a rough situation. I say we swap out Grimmsnarl for Torkoal and get a max Vine Lash off. Okay, the fact that Grimmsnarl went out first means that that Kyogre did not switch because it's definitely faster. So best case scenario is that they don't protect here. That would be incredible. We're gonna see what happens though. They're not maxing also, so if they protect, they won't take much damage, but it'll still be significant. And then on top of that, Vine Lash outside of max is significantly more just because HP is doubled in max. Actually, if they had, it would have fired off purely because Sun makes us faster. But this is great. They didn't protect. They didn't switch. We just get a free kill on the restricted turn 1. And thank you, Rillaboom, for the grassy terrain healing. Okay, so now they bring out Whimsicott, which is interesting. One thing I fear here is eject button shenanigans, just switcheroo in general. With that said, if they do that, then they have to ignore Torkoal. So my personal opinion is that we should just go ahead and kill them. They have to focus into one of those, basically. So Max Strike, it's labeled as Max Strike, it's actually a Max Flare. So we can launch that into... Whimsicott's more likely to have a Sash, but it's probably just going to launch off Tailwind this turn if they don't have Switcheroo, so let's just get rid of it. Yeah, we want to leave it on the field because Whimsicott gets Tailwind up. If you just kill them right after they get that, which they generally will with their Prankster, then you're just granting them a free switch. Crit, I don't think it mattered personally. Great, so Rillaboom's gone. We're up to 4-2 at this point, and Whimsicott's not going to take this well. I think we pretty much wrapped this game up at this point. Didn't even have Sash, okay. Yeah, what I was afraid of was priority Grassy Glide triggering a priority eject button, and that would have kept them in the game, but still, Sun Burning Jealousy against two grass types, not going to go well for them. At this point, yeah, they should forfeit, but just to lock this up, we're going to yawn, and I think we just max Flare again. It's just numbers advantage, but they're going to play it out, so we get to have some fun with it. So first off, Venusaur goes first, easily because of Chlorophyll. So we're going to get a Flare off. Zapdos is reasonably tanky though, so even in the sun it will take it reasonably well, I'd assume. But after that, we just yawn, and they're going to go to sleep in a turn. And on top of that, they're probably... No, okay. Into Torkoal, okay, that's really smart. I don't know if they just predicted our weakness policy, or they just wanted the yawn gone, but great move on their part. And we got our residual off. Great. So I guess we should play this with the best chance of winning. We could bring out Ho-Oh. I still don't think it would super appreciate a Max Lightning even with AV and its amazing special defense. So we're going to set up Light Screen, and I think we're just going to go for Sleep Powder. This is one of those situations where even with the 75% accuracy, it's just worth going for. And how many more turns of Sun do we have left? 2. So we actually get, assuming we live through an Airstream behind Light Screen, we still get 2 chances to get Sleep Powder off. Here we go. Oh no, they're faster with their Airstream. That's what I get for going with 212. Okay. So they've actually brought it back really well. I might have been a little cocky there. I think we still have this with the numbers advantage, though. They still have 1 more turn of Dynamax, but that's fine. What we're going to do, how fast are they currently? They're at +1. So our options are Spirit Break or Scary Face. I think it has to be Scary Face. Sacred Fire in the Sun is going to do a ton. Ho-Oh is still quite strong, and we're running an adamant build. And behind Light Screen, AV, and base 154, I want to say special defense, Ho-Oh should take at least one of these Max Lightnings. Wow, even with the Scary Face, huh? Beautiful. Barely a 2-hit KO, which means that they won't even kill us on the next turn, since their max will be over and they'll be working with a 95 power Thunderbolt. Wow, great. Ho-Oh and Sun, fantastic. Okay, good first game showing this off. Get our master rank ribbon. You can tell for sure that I haven't played with this team yet on cartridge. All right, let's try for another one. Moving on up. Get a little nervous playing around this rank with teams that we just put together, but Sun is just too strong right now. I think even with kind of iffy restricted, we're gonna do fine. Oh, rank 140, maybe not. Okay, so we're up against Zacian. I'd say Ho-Oh actually has a really solid matchup into this. We resist all of Zacian's stabs. We get a super effective damage into Mamoswine. Question is when do I don't think we bring Landorus. Its spread is just really too specifically targeted at Sun teams, so I don't think that's the play. Very heavily physical team too. I kind of like the idea of the same lead. Maybe even the same 4, to be honest. I kind of wanted to show off Umbreon, but we've already shown it in the Lapdog team, so... Do we want it, though? I think we were kind of just forced into the same 4, though. Yawn is nice, but Torkoal has it too, and this team is entirely physical apart from Regieleki, so... Yeah. It does make me consider whether we want Landorus. For the Intimidate, for the EQ into Regieleki, but Ice Shards from Mamoswine are just going to hurt too much. So let's just go with our first instinct, see how this goes. I'm sure a player at this rank has a plan for Sun, especially a plan for Sun without something powerful like Charizard or Groudon. Choosing Ho-Oh kind of boxed me out of both, which are really big Sun options, as well as Zacian. So. But I do think we have a solid matchup into Zacian teams, though. So let's, how did you lead? Zacian, Regieleki, okay. See, this is interesting. They chose their only special mono lead, which is smart because, well, still, Venusaur is very safe from Alecki, just because it resists and Alecki only carries electric moves. But, so if we're going to set up a screen, we definitely set up Reflect. I think Zacian kills Grimmsnarl through Reflect is the thing. So what I kind of prefer doing is swapping for Torkoal, and then firing off a Max Flare into Zacian and hoping this kills. I really hope it does. If they're smart, they'll protect, but you know, there's just so many things that you can do as Venusaur that it's kind of a coin flip. And that's why I hate playing against these teams. It feels really good to be on this side of things. I say before the turn has happened. There's the possibility that they max Regieleki. Sleep Powder is just really powerful pressure, and you know, we're also carrying it. But despite that, like even if they max, we'll still take a max Lightning very well. They might just do it to stop the sleep, and if they do it, that would be just a great position for us. No, they don't, and we just put the Flare into their restricted right off the bat. Not a kill. That's not great, admittedly, but okay. Thunder Wave. So they're going to outspeed us next turn, and that Zacian is going to do big damage into us. Let's see. Was it into the Grimmsnarl slot? Because that would be... Nope. Venusaur, they called it. Oh, and we don't even get our Vine Lash off. That is not great. Okay. So in retrospect, Reflect might have been the play. Shoot. Okay. Well, if we bring out Grimmsnarl, then their Zacian's just going to kill it. And at red HP, that seems like a huge waste. So I think we bring out Ho-Oh. We do need our screens up is the thing, but now isn't the time. With these two Mons, they have to protect or switch Zacian. Who would they bring as a max option? It's got to be Dragapult, right? It's rough. What I say we do is that we yawn into the Zacian slot and Sacred Fire into the Regieleki slot. That would kill Regieleki. And either they switch, protect Zacian. The worst case is that we waste a yawn. Oh, and they're maxing now. Oh, this is actually really smart because even with AV, like we saw how much damage we took from a max lightning from a Zapdos, this is going to be even stronger. Helping Hand Zacian, wow. Did not expect that. Does Ho-Oh take this? We're gonna have to find out. Nah, naughty. AV, highly bulky Ho-Oh doesn't take Helping Hand Max Lightning from Regieleki, which is totally fair. I think this game is over, unfortunately. Especially since they've got the electric terrain, which is really something I should have considered, but there was nothing I could have done about this play. If I'd swapped Ho-Oh into Grimmsnarl, it would have died just as easily. All right, we're gonna forfeit from this one. This player might be better than us. In retrospect, though, trying to consider what I could do better, that Max Flare on turn one was just a crazy ballsy move. So what were my other options? I could have Sleep Powdered, which is also risky because 25% chance to just lose the game immediately. But I need to look into Venusaur's special attack investment, really. Weakness Policy is kind of a trade-off because if I don't get that proc, I don't do nearly as much damage as if, even if I'd chosen a defensive item and had more offensive investment. So I should look into whether a timid Venusaur is even capable of OHKOing Zacian with Max Flare, and if not, then Sleep Powder might be my only move at that point. The other thing is that they just read my Grimmsnarl switch. I was very scared of just taking that Steel-type Behemoth Blade. It's generally pretty safe to to assume that Grim is going to set up screens, and if you can KO through it, that's huge. Okay, Jonah. Another dog team. Okay, it's not the worst though. They're also going to have their own screens. It's kind of like Lapdog without the lap. I like it though, and they do have Landorus, which is problematic for us. Leading here is tricky. I expect them to lead with their own Lando, especially because our restricted doesn't appreciate Intimidate. And so for that reason, I want to lead really... I also expect them to bring Rotom Heat is the thing though, because that is a great Sun counter. So I would say that we need to choose something that counters Rotom and Landorus. I like Umbreon for that purpose. And I like Grimmsnarl. We're going to bring our restricted, and then that leaves us with just something in the back, right? And Venusaur doesn't do well without Torkoal, so let's go Lando into this. This could be risky, leaving the Sun at home. And to be honest, I panicked a little bit, but we're going to see how this goes too. Grimmsnarl and Rotom. Okay, so we called one of them. If I had to guess, it's just going to be mirroring screens. Now, the cool thing about facing off into Rotom is that it does not benefit from its own electric terrain, and a lot of them run Goggles for exactly that reason, but we just get a Yawn Off. It's not considered a powder move, so that's fantastic. Let's set up... Now this is iffy, right? Because they could double into us with Spirit Break and some kind of Flare, Lightning, whatever. Even though so the question is whether Spirit Break or a Max Rotom move is scarier, and I want to say the Max Rotom move. I haven't calced it, but even though Spirit Break is super effective, the Grimmsnarls generally don't run attack investment, and Umbreon is physically defensive. Oh, great. Okay, so they forgot that Prankster doesn't work on Dark types, so that's fantastic. They probably predicted a Snarl, but now we just get the Yawn Off into them, so you can have your +2 if you want it, but you're gonna fall asleep or you gotta leave. So what do they have in the back again? So obviously, wow, okay, Verization doesn't have the crowned animation sprite, which means I don't think they brought it, which is kind of crazy. I guess they were scared of all the fire, which is kind of fair enough. So what I want to do is Yawn into the Rotom slot again. If they stay in, then we waste a turn. But if they swap, but then we can just Moonlight it right back. And they do stay in. Okay. Unless it's Lum Rotom, which I don't think I've ever seen. Oh, that's lucky. That's definitely lucky. Okay, so we waste this turn. What we were banking on is them switching to get out of it, and then see, look at that, great. Granted, we got Reflect, but Umbreon is just such a tank. But yeah, what we were banking on is them switching, and then we yawn into that, and that has to switch, or just take the sleep. It's just a vicious cycle once you get into it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do this is a slow game, but it's still, it's just the kind of thing where we can keep them pinned until they decide to switch or just keep taking slow damage. The question is whether we swap out Grimmsnarl or not. I don't think yet. I don't think we have to yet. So let's just bring down Rotom's Nasty Plotted special attack and put another Yawn into the Sidemon. Grimmsnarl's not really doing much. Like lefties plus Reflect plus Umbreon's Bulk means it doesn't really matter, and we don't care about our special attack. Snarl is just for the special attack drops on their side. Okay, good call. They put up their screens. The question whether the Spirit Break should have gone into Grimmsnarl. They put up their Reflect, so they wouldn't have taken much from it. It's really just a very slow mirror lead. For the sake of making this slightly more exciting, I think I'm going to switch. Let's put a Snarl into Rotom so it's not quite as scary, and swap into Lando, because the thing is, if it wakes up, it's just going to go for another nasty plot probably. So I'm not really feeling doubling up with Snarls and Spirit Breaks forever. So once we switch in Landorus, the question is whether we max or not. Great, they're asleep. We got one more turn of this. Which I haven't been counting. Yawn is kind of interesting. It activates at the end of the turn, so the turn that you activate doesn't count for their guaranteed sleep turn. Where does that Spirit Break go? Okay, into the Grimmsnarl slot, that makes sense. But Landorus has great physical defenses, and it does not care about your special attack drops, so kind of whatever there. Okay, so now we're in a more offensive position, and both of their Bonds are asleep, which is great too. Landorus, this is a slow Landorus actually. Let's check our speed real quick. No, I know it. It's 139, and that's because 2 Airstreams lets us outspeed a Regieleki that's at max. So what I want to do here is, I don't know how many turns of sleep Rotom's taken is the thing. We could Snarl or we could Yawn into that slot. I'm panicking a little bit. Let's go for the Rock Slide. Okay, a rock fall into that slot would have been really nice, but now we at least know that Landorus is faster. Crit on the Rotom. That oh, and they flinch. So much luck. And because they woke up, we just get the sleep into them again. At this point, I'd be really frustrated as my opponent. We're kind of playing a very aggravating game, but that's kind of the nature of it. We have a super fast chlorophyll-fueled offensive portion of the team, and we have slow and steady and bulky. So now Rotom's gonna fall asleep again, probably, if I had to guess. I think they go for an overheat into Landorus. That seems like the smartest play. And if they're doing that, who takes that best? Hello. Absolutely. What kind of team are we playing? The fire type that oh, they just quit. Okay. Okay, that's fair, but it doesn't show off the team super well. So let's try another one. I'm very sorry to my opponent. Okay, Mao. Oh no, not this. Okay, I guess we're gonna try. So what this is, if you're unfamiliar, the end game is to have Shuckle use Guard Split with Chansey that just minimizes ad infinitum, and we have no perfect accuracy moves. Like Rain would be really nice here for Hurricane or Thunder. And then on top of that, they tend to set up Trick Room with either Indeedee Hat or, in this case, the Copycat and Trick Room on Dialga. Oh, it's a huge pain. I don't really know how to deal with this team. I really hate it. What we could do is maybe save Venusaur for the end and get just residual. They can still heal with Chansey, which is infuriating, but... Alright, let's just do it. Ho-Oh, Torkoal, we'll maybe convince them not to not to use their Trick Room. And then what else? The normal fairies aren't here, so Umbreon might be nice if we can put it to sleep. That might work for us. Got evil team. I tried it out on Showdown for a day, and it's not even fun because even the games you get, they go like 20, 30 plus turns. The only way they end earlier is if someone just gives up out of frustration, which honestly I don't blame them. We're doing it though. Okay, the good news is we've got a great matchup into this. I don't think they even want to max here, or they definitely don't want to set up Trick Room because of Torkoal. I think Dialga probably does carry an electric move. It can at least. Ours didn't last time, but... So do we Burning Jealousy or do we Yawn is the thing. Kind of like Yawning, we're already doing a ton of fire pressure with Ho-Oh. Dialga doesn't really care about the potential burn anyway. Okay, if we can get this burn onto Shuckle, that's great. We're getting a Yawn into their Dynamax Pokemon first turn. That's something. What I'm worried about though, we're probably not actually, now that I think about it. Dialga's faster and they get Quake. Really something I should have thought about, and it's special, so Torkoal's not going to take this. They actually read us perfectly, so, you know, good job on their part. I was so worried about my super bulky restricted Mon that I didn't consider the one that really mattered. And actually that's an even better play. Wormwind will still kill us because, as we saw in the last video, Dialga is so strong and Torkoal's special defense is nothing to write home about. And now they got the attack drop too. At least we got a burn. It's not really anything to write home about, to be perfectly honest, because it's 50%. Question is who we go into now. We're kind of in a desperate situation, so I'm gonna put all our hopes on this Venusaur Sleep Powder. Generally, Shuckle is not gonna carry around Taunt, unless I'm mistaken. Not exactly the expert on Shuckle spreads. So Iron Head's super effective, but it doesn't have Stab and it doesn't have the Sun, so I think it kind of evens out to exactly the same thing. So let's do that, and then let's pray for a Sleep Powder. Yes. Okay, that's good. That it feels cheesy, but I have exactly 0 guilt against this kind of team. Okay, good. Guard split with the Dialga. Okay, that's kind of equally terrifying actually, because Shuckle has amazing special defenses too. Does it have Protect? I'm gonna say most Pokemon that are that bulky generally don't carry it. So let's try to kill it or just do damage into whatever it swaps into. And then the question is what we do with Umbreon, or with Venusaur. Do we max it? I kind of want to preserve it for when Chansey comes out. What I didn't really consider is that Chansey's big thing is special defense. Its physical defense is utter garbage, but its special defense is great even by default, so it doesn't even need the guard split. What are they swapping into now? The Chansey. Okay, if we get a burn, and Sacred Fire is physical, so if we get a burn, this could be big. That residual damage adds up over time. Great, okay. And their max is gone. Okay, so this is pretty big. Umbreon should be faster than them too. The problem though is that Burn is taking up their status slot, right? So what that means is that we can't put it to sleep. Yawn pressure from Umbreon could have been huge. The good news though is that we can just cripple Dialga. If it wants to keep its defense boosts from Shuckle, then it's gonna have to live with the fact that we are snarling it. Okay, they're not switching out. This could be big because my guess is that they want to minimize. and we can just max immediately. Okay, they don't minimize, they soft boil. How much does that do? Wow, so much more than I wanted it to. And Trick Room, okay. Here's where the shenanigans start. And I really might have helped them with that burn now that I think about it. So, the question is whether residual from Vine Lash or big physical damage from Ho-Oh is going to be the winning factor here. They both have their advantages against Chansey, but the fact that it can just soft boil makes me think that residual isn't as great. But either way, we really want to get that attack drop off from the Wormwind off of Ho-Oh, so either way, we have to swap it out. They brought their Shuckle in, which I assume they want to guard split, but if we're lucky, and if Snarl hits it, which it does, that combined with the burn should be just enough to take it out. Unfortunately, our Sunlight's gone. It's not the end of the world because Ho-Oh can set it up again with Flare. Okay, I don't love this, and the reason is that, well, obvious type advantage, and they still have their Trick Room up for a couple more turns. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap Venusaur for Ho-Oh. And I don't really love that, but at the same time, you know, we just need to preserve our Moth as best we can. This is the kind of game that could go to timer. And then we're just gonna yawn into the Glacier slot. Ho-Oh is going to take neutral damage from an ice attack. Oh, close combat. I didn't think about that. That's actually really smart. So I think what we want to do is we want to time... Oh, and they doubled, so we don't even get the yawn. Oh boy, okay. I'm afraid this game might be over at this point. What we ideally do here is we time our max attacks from Ho-Oh such that it gets 2 in a row. But at this rate, I'm not super confident. Oh, you know what we can do still? We haven't used our max yet, and I was really planning on saving it to use on Ho-Oh, set up Sun and so on. But at this point, Venusaur is not going to live a direct ice hit from Glacier. So I think instead what we do is we max Venusaur and hope for the weakness policy proc. Problem is they're still both gonna outspeed us in Trick Room, underspeed us, however you want to say it. So we're in a rough position. I really, really hate these teams. Ally switch. Ooh, this could be promising. And they miss Icicle Crash. Okay, so we're both gonna double into Chansey now. It's good. We've seen Sacred Fire, but it was under Sun before. Oh god, that special defense is just too good. And they're just gonna soft boil this turn is the thing. Which is absolutely tragic considering how low it is. It's one turn of Trick Room. They absolutely have to soft boil the Chansey. The question is what they do with Glacier. The fact that they're soft boiling means that they're not minimizing, though. which makes it seem like a valuable turn to attack into it. And let's just go for their Glacier is more vulnerable on the special defense side. Ooh, they just threw, I think, because even though they just proved that, oh my god, thank you, weakness policy, and Venu just being bulky and max, that was the right decision. Even though we just saw that Mind Lash doesn't do a whole ton to Chansey, it doesn't matter. Because with the residual and the burn, it should take it out. All right, okay, so it's not over yet, because they still have Dialga in the back. The question is whether, how it does speed-wise against both of our mons. The good news here is that Ho-Oh is so specially bulky with its Assault Vest, so unless this thing has Thunderbolt, it's not going to be able to do any appreciable damage to us whatsoever. We are getting low on Sacred Fires, but I want to hit it with some chip from that at least once, if only to preserve it not having weakness policy. Do we Quake for super effective damage? I think so. I know I just talked about being scared of their weakness policy, but we are +2 from our own weakness policy, so I think it's worth it. Dead. Oh my god. Chansey? I want to say obscene things, but I'm trying to keep these videos friendly, so we're just going to say we beat a Chansey team and be very happy. That is Ho-Oh's son. We saw some ups and downs. I'd say that first video is, that first match was really what I wanted to show. The next few games were either me being dominated or just some very interesting stuff. Regardless, I'm going to go ahead and put a rental code in the description, so keep a lookout for that. I'll also be editing those into my previous videos, so keep an eye out. Every time I put a video out, I will proceed to share the rental code with you. Nothing to hide, and I think these teams are really fun to play with. Till next time, bye.